All right, let's start with the big story that we are tracking on Wion at this hour, where Prime Minister of Norway, Erna Solberg, who is in fact in India on a 3-day official visit, is expected to arrive at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. At the Rashtrapati Bhavan, she'll be given a ceremonial reception, and we expect her to arrive here any moment now, and she'll also be later on in the day meeting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well. Remember, she had also yesterday offered to mediate between India and Pakistan if the two nations were to in fact approach Norway. She also spoke about the mediation efforts that were carried out by Norway. She gave an example of how Norway had been pretty successful in bringing about peace in Colombia, where they had negotiated between the government and the FARC rebels, and that had been pretty successful. But the negotiation, the mediation efforts on behalf of Norway in the Sri Lankan crisis, that had gone completely awry. And now this is yet another instance where Norway has of course come forth and said that if there were to be a need, then they would of course be willing to mediate between India and Pakistan. But at the same time, she also stressed the fact that India and Pakistan are very large countries. They're also very mature nations as well. And there is no reason why the two nations cannot in fact set aside their differences and come on a common ground. She will be calling on President Ramnath Kovind. She'll also be meeting with Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu as well, besides holding talks with Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, this visit of the Norwegian Prime Minister is of course an opportunity for the two sides to review the progress in bilateral cooperation and discuss ways to further expand this partnership. Now, this is a visit by a Norwegian Prime Minister 10 years after the previous Norwegian Prime Minister had visited India. All right, so this of course is a significant moment between India and Norway and the diplomacy between the two nations. So Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in fact being present personally at the Rashtrapati Bhavan to receive the Norwegian Prime Minister Erna Solberg there. And she'll of course be calling on India's President Ramnath Kovind at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and she will also be meeting with the Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu before sitting down for talks with the Indian Prime Minister. Remember, this of course is an interesting and a very important relationship that India has with this Scandinavian nation. All right, so this is the ceremonial reception accorded to the Norwegian Prime Minister, who is on a 3-day visit to India. Erna Solberg, who will, of course, be meeting with President Ramnath Kovind and Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu before holding talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And to discuss more on this, we're joined in by my colleague Siddhant Sibil, who is joining us live. Good morning to you, Siddhant. Now, this is a very significant visit by the Norwegian Prime Minister there. And considering the statement that she made yesterday, Siddhant, she's virtually said the cat among the pigeons. She said that Norway would be willing to mediate between India and Pakistan. Have you heard anything official at all from the Indian side on this offer by the Norwegian Prime Minister there?
She's speaking to the media. You'll be getting the live frame right now. We listen to her, and then, of course, we will get more details.
All right, we'll come back to you, Siddhant. Do stay on with us. But this, of course, are live visuals that we are getting from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, where the Norwegian Prime Minister is meeting the Indian officials, and now Prime Minister Narendra Modi is, of course, meeting with the Norwegian contingent that has arrived in India. This is a significant meet. This is an important meet in terms of broadening the bilateral relationship between India and Norway. And this, of course, will, go a long way in paving the way further in terms of technological cooperation.
I am very excited to visit India, and I would like to thank Prime Minister Modi for a very warm welcome so far and an impressive reception here, good tradition. I hope that we, through these meetings today, will have even a better way for cooperating on very big and important issues. We hope for a good friendship and partnership with India on oceans, on sustainable development, but also on bilateral issues. So I would just like to say thank you very much for a very warm welcome, and I'm looking forward to our talks. Thank you.
All right, so that was the Norwegian Prime Minister there making a quick statement in terms of what exactly she's got on agenda. And my colleague Siddhant Sibil, who's of course been tracking the developments very closely for us, is with us on the phone line. Now, Siddhant, we heard a very short sort of a soundbite that was given by the Norwegian Prime Minister there, where she spoke about, greater cooperation in terms of oceans, in terms of sustainable development, besides a host of other bilateral relationship between the two nations. Now, this of course, is a very significant meet between the Indian and the Norwegian Prime Ministers, and it is coming at a time when the issue of oceans and sharing the resources of oceans in a sustainable manner is in fact pretty big on the agenda. Now, India and Norway have always shared cordial relations in the last several decades. Now, Erna Solberg is the first Norwegian Prime Minister to visit in the last 10 years. And the statement that she, of course, made yesterday at an event is what is, of course, being spoken about a lot. And my colleague Siddhant Sibil is now live, joining us live with us. So Siddhant, the question that I would like to ask you is the statement that was made by Erna Solberg yesterday, was this something that was expected at all?
Well, the statement made that Norway will not mediate when it comes to India and Pakistan unless the parties come forward and go to the Norwegian government and ask them to intervene. Remember, Norway has been playing an important role when it comes to mediation, whether it's in Colombia or in Sri Lanka. Of course, Sri Lanka wasn't a successful example. The Norwegian Prime Minister herself accepted that it was not a success. But if you look at the entire policy of the Norwegian government, it is, of course, to mediate. But on this issue, on whether it's Kashmir or India-Pakistan mediation, India has made it clear that the policies that govern mediation is, of course, bilateral engagement only, and under the Shimla and the Lahore agreement, and there will, of course, no role for the third-party mediation when it comes to India and Pakistan. But if we look at this entire visit, this is the first foreign visit of any leader this year in 2019, and the Indian Prime Minister has already met the Norwegian Prime Minister twice, first in 2017 and then in 2018. In 2018, we saw the India-Nordic Summit, the first of its kind summit between India and the Nordics, in which all the 5 Nordic countries participated. In 2017, the Prime Minister, the Norwegian Prime Minister, met the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the sidelines of the G20 Hamburg Summit, in which the Norwegian Prime Minister gifted a football in which it was written the Sustainable Development Goals. And this time around also the focus will be on sustainable development goals, climate change issues that impact everyone. And we know Norway has a lot of, when it comes to technology, when it comes to clean energy, green energy. Yesterday only, when, of course, she gave that soundbite on mediation, she was basically inaugurating the new compound of the Norwegian embassy, the green compound of Norwegian embassy, which, of course, has a lot of the things which conserves energy, air cavities that insulates the entire building. But by and large, this visit, of course, is important because she is the keynote speaker at the Raisina dialogue, which will begin from today at 6 o'clock in the evening. She, along with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, will be at the Raisina dialogue. She will give the keynote address.
Absolutely, indeed. That, of course, will be something to watch out for, the keynote address that will be delivered by Erna Solberg. But the other issue that I would like to talk to you, Siddhant, is about, sustainable development and also, using the ocean of resources from the oceans in a sustainable manner. And this is something that Norway has spoken about, extensively. What more can we expect on that front?
Well, she mentioned about this, the entire thing of clean energy at her media talk this morning, just short while ago, 10 minutes ago from Rashtrapati Bhavan. But this, of course, will be the major focus. Remember, India, of course, has making great strides when it comes to clean energy. India has its own this solar alliance, which, of course, has new and new members taking part in it. And, of course, Norway can provide new technology. Norway is the world leader when it comes to clean energy. And the Prime Minister, of course, will be focusing on that. The release from the Norwegian embassy about the Prime Minister's visit talked majorly about clean energy initiatives, which the Prime Minister will be discussing during her meet with the Indian Prime Minister. But along with it, there will be another important, crucial factor, that is the issue of NSG. Yesterday, one of the questions was asked whether Norway backs India's NSG bid. The Norwegian Prime Minister said yes, but we need to keep in mind that Norway has a large community, large Pakistani community, which plays an important role there in the politics there, and that, of course, impacts the India-Norway relationship. That is something that is going to be discussed also.
Absolutely, indeed. We'll of course come back to you as the story unfolds, but for the time being, thank you very much indeed, Siddhant Sibil, for joining us from the Rashtrapati Bhavan and getting us all those details. It is a very important relationship and a very crucial visit by the Norwegian Prime Minister. Remember, India and Norway, of course, share very cordial relations, and it now remains to be seen as to how this will be taken forward.